Okay, this is brand therapy today in 60 seconds or less. And I'm going to try to hold myself to 60 seconds because I like to talk. And I am flexing on the new Mr. Rogers alpaca sweater that I brought back from Peru last year. Yes, I know I look good in it, but 46 degrees this morning. Wow, that came in fast. Anyhow, today's topic, this sort of idea around you're publishing more and saying less. And I saw a couple of people talk about this on Instagram or LinkedIn or both, sort of like they don't even know what to talk about anymore. And the more they post, it doesn't feel like they're getting burnt out and all those sorts of things. And one of the things that I noticed in my content creation, or especially early on before I had a real strategy around it, is that the more content I created, the less it sort of less this it really started to say, and there was less meaning to it, and it just sort of became like I was on the like this hamster wheel of creating content, like you're just sort of shouting into the void. And then combine that with the algorithm and how all that's the metrics work in that space, and it's just like, dude, no one's actually listening to what you're saying. People are listening. You may or may not see them on your feed. They may or may not comment because, again, like people are just sort of scrolling through things. So all the more reason you got to find something that is relevant, that can add value, that's not just you like talking into a megaphone. So when you get into that space where you're just constantly posting, and you're starting to feel like, what is anybody reading this? It's like this content burnout loop, right? And you're just overproducing for the sake of overproducing because you don't really trust your message. Maybe you didn't have a strategy involved with it. And then everything that you write, everything that you record, starts to become like these like small tiny performances, and I don't know if they actually fit you. They may or may not, but I think you'll find if you audit your own content that it starts to get a little bit watered down, a little repetitive, and it's hard to stand out in a sea of everybody else doing the same thing. And then now you throw in AI, and suddenly everyone is an intellectual genius dropping minutia on the social webs, and all of it sounds the same. And so you've got to be very self-aware around that, and stop diluting the signal or the message or the solution that you're trying to deliver. And one of the ways to do that, again, is to be very purposeful about your content, have a strategy behind it, understand who it is you're speaking to, the value that you bring to the table. And before you hit record on your video or you start writing copy, really ask yourself one really important question. What am I actually trying to prove with this piece of information or content, et cetera? And in my case, I'm trying to share with you something that I went through and how I addressed it, this content burnout, and being more meaningful and purposeful and strategic about my content. And I'd rather see you post one piece of like mind-blowing, thoughtful, intellectual zone of genius that you bring to the table than trying to like keep up with the algorithm 7 times a week, 3 times a day, whatever it is you want to do. So you don't need new content. You need a strategy. You need cleaner messaging. You need to better understand who you are and what you do, and sort of how you show up in the world, and why people would want to connect with you, and what value you're going to offer in exchange for their energetic exchange, yada, yada, yada. So one message, really for me, one platform. I play on Instagram and LinkedIn, but I really kind of just focus on one message now, and I sort of like repurpose it on either one. One truth about who you are and the value that you bring to the table, and sort of watch how your energy returns. I'm not making any guarantees that the audience is going to start be like, oh my God, look at this cat and his zone of genius. That's on you, brother or sister. But I will tell you that you'll start to feel better about yourself, and it might sort of lend itself to being more creative and more intellectual around your solution, because you're like, your energy's back into it, right? And so then you can deliver that message, and people pick up on energy, and that's sort of that's the vibe you want people to attract. You want to attract your people to. Cool. All right. I think that was over 60 seconds. Let me see. It was 4 minutes and 50 seconds. I would love any feedback you have on this. So I'm really trying to create a space here on my social media where we can have real conversations about the things that affect us as business owners and entrepreneurs and fathers and mothers, and all the things that we're trying to do to live our life. So if you have some feedback, if you have some tips, some insights, man, drop a note below and let's hear from you. Let's get a conversation going. See you on the side.